Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are really getting into the weeds on the latest gaming news. We're cutting through all that noise, pulling out the stuff that actually matters, the big insights, the surprising facts. Our sources are, well, they're all over the place. Major sequels, indie games you might not have heard of, even shifts in how games are actually made. Look, there's just so much info out there. Consider this your shortcut. You get the aha moments without digging through everything yourself. Okay, let's unpack this. So, first off, let's talk about game design. There's this interesting trend, maybe return to linearity. We're seeing it with Mafia, the old country, the prequel everyone's talking about, set in Sicily, right? Follows the main character in Sofawara, growing up in the Don Teresi crime family with Luca and Cesar. Sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is the developer's deliberate choice here. Hangar 13. They're going for plot density, a really tight linear structure, focusing hard on atmosphere. It's not just nostalgia for the old Mafia games, though it echoes the first two parts. It's more like a strategic move. They're realizing that for a gritty crime story like this, a controlled, linear path can actually be more immersive. It focuses you.
Instead of just, wandering around a giant map.
Exactly. It pushes back against that idea that every big game needs a massive open world.
That is a bold move these days, so confirming no open world at all. Especially since Mafia 3, people criticize its world for being big, but, well, a bit empty sometimes. Why switch back now?
Yep, confirmed. Nick Baines, he's the president over at Hangar 13. He specifically said they ditched the open world concept. The thinking is it allows for much more focused gameplay, deeper immersion, it fits the series' roots better, and honestly, the success of the Mafia 1 remake back in 2020, that really hammered it home for them. It basically proved that a strong story, linear, atmospheric, that works really well for this kind of crime drama. Maybe better than Total Freedom.
Right, tailoring the structure to the story. Makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. Okay, shifting from design philosophy to some really big names, established franchises, let's talk about the legendary archaeologist. The Great Circle for Machine Games last year was huge, right? Their first big indie hit in ages, so naturally everyone's asking, sequel?
Well, if you kind of connect the dots, there's pretty strong indirect confirmation. Machine Games is hiring. They're looking for a senior concept artist. And the job description is interesting. He needs experience in gaming and cinema.
Okay, given Indy's movie background.
Exactly. And the success of The Great Circle. It points very strongly towards them continuing that story. Another Indiana Jones adventure seems likely.
Okay, from Indy to the Wasteland, Fallout 5. What's the latest there? We heard some chatter about active development at Microsoft, maybe even using resources from that closed studio, Blackbird. What's the real deal?
So Jason Schreier, who's usually pretty reliable, he denied the specific Blackbird connection. But notably, he didn't deny that Fallout 5 is in development.
Okay.
Which makes sense because Bethesda's main focus right now is the Elder Scrolls 6. So Fallout 5 would naturally be further out. The bigger picture here, though, is Microsoft's strategy. They seem to really want Fallout to be a more regular thing. Yeah. Avoid those huge, 7 to 10 year gaps between games.
Especially after the TV show, right?
Absolutely. The Amazon series brought in a massive new audience, tons of interest. Microsoft wants to capitalize on that, keep the momentum going.
Trying to speed up development on something like Fallout or Elder Scrolls.
Oh, hi.
That sounds like a huge challenge, though. How do they do that without, breaking the game or the studio?
That's the core problem, isn't it? It's a massive balancing act. Bethesda games are known for being these incredibly deep, sprawling worlds. Rushing that, you risk burning out the developers, or you cut corners, lose the detail fans expect. It also kind of hints they might be looking at a more live service model, or at least more regular updates for their big RPGs.
Which is a whole different way of doing things.
Totally different. Maintaining that Bethesda quality at a faster pace. That's historically been tough for anyone making these giant open-world RPGs.
Speaking of waiting, the Elder Scrolls 6.6 announced, 7 years ago? And basically radio silence since. But there are some new rumors floating around. Anything encouraging there, or just hope?
Well, Jez Corden recently claimed TESX is actually in a playable state internally. He even said they've shown internal trailers within Microsoft.
Playable?
Wow. Now, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Corden himself has admitted he's been wrong before.
Okay, fair enough.
But still, for fans who've been waiting this long, hearing about a playable build, even internally, it's definitely an encouraging sign. Suggests real progress is being made.
Okay, while we're on surprising news, Cyberpunk 2077. I thought support ended after Phantom Liberty, but there's talk of new content.
Yeah, this one kind of came out of left field. The Rocky Brewery's podcast flagged it. And there's a little bit of potential evidence, maybe, a former CDPR dev, Remy Janae, his LinkedIn profile mentions working on a global project at Virtuos Games.
Virtuos, they do co-development and remasters, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they work on an Oblivion remaster?
Exactly. They helped with Oblivion, yeah. And there have been whispers before about Virtuos maybe helping CDPR out. So connecting Janae working there on something global, it fuels the speculation. Maybe some unexpected new stuff for Night City, possibly outsourced.
Huh, that would be a surprise. Okay, what about God of War? Is that franchise still going strong?
Oh, absolutely alive and kicking. Cory Barlog is back.
The director from the 2018 game.
That's him. He's back as game director at Santa Monica Studio, helming a new project after Ragnarok. And it's definitely staying in the God of War universe. Forget those sci-fi rumors.
Okay, good. So what's the thinking? Where does it go next?
Well, the most popular theory, and it kind of makes sense after Ragnarok's ending, is an Atreus-led game, sort of a soft reboot focusing on his journey.
Makes sense. And rounding out the mega franchises, GTA 6. There's a weird celebrity hint recently. Travis Scott.
Yeah, this was pretty blatant. Travis Scott released a music video, 2000 Excursion, and in it, there's a car, Florida setting, with a license plate that just straight up says GTA 6.
Seriously, just right there.
Yep. And it connects back to older rumors about a radio station in the game, Jack Records Cactus, featuring his music. GTA does these collaborations. Dr. Dre was in GTA 5.
True.
So this feels less like a coincidence and more like a very public, semi-official teaser.
Okay, let's switch gears. Ongoing games. New stuff making waves. Helldivers 2 just keeps going, doesn't it? Sounds like Arrowhead has a really long-term plan. They're even hinting at the Illuminati returning.
Oh yeah, Arrowhead's been great about communicating their plans. They've flat out said they have years of updates mapped out. That transparency is a big reason for its success, I think. And the community loves digging into the lore hints, like the possible return of the Illuminates, keeps people hooked, waiting for the next big threat.
And one to watch. Pioneer. Online shooter hitting like 400,000 Steam wish lists already. They just showed off a new area, Crab Island. Sort of a bleak coastal place with a wreck. The whole premise sounds cool, surviving on some isolated Soviet island after an anomaly.
Yeah, that one looks interesting. Then you've got the Borderlands 4 trailer. Claptrap's back, obviously.
Of course, love him or hate him.
Right. But good news for the haters, they've added a dedicated volume slider just for his dialogue.
Huh. That's amazing, actually, listening to feedback.
Totally. It's releasing September 12th. And they're hinting at a Switch 2 version down the line, too.
That volume slider is such a great little quality of life touch. It really shows they're paying attention. Are we seeing more of that? Developers really tuning into what players are saying?
I think so, yeah. Especially with games designed to run for a long time, like live services. You almost have to listen to the community to keep them engaged. Another example of pushing boundaries, maybe. Hitman World of Assassination is coming to iOS.
A whole trilogy on a phone.
The entire thing, yeah. Hitman 3 missions included. It's a huge technical feat to get that running well on mobile without major compromises.
Wow. So what kind of phone or tablet do you need for that? Must be pretty high end.
It is. They're saying you'll need like an iPhone 15 Pro or iPad with at least an M1 chip. So yeah, modern hardware. But it shows how powerful these mobile devices are getting. That's supposed to land sometime this summer.
And sticking with mobile, GTA again, Grand Theft Auto the third remake suddenly went free on iOS. That seems odd for Rockstar.
Very odd. Caught everyone by surprise. And there's been zero official word from Rockstar.
It could be a mistake or a promotion.
Exactly. Could be a limited time thing. Could be an error they'll fix. Who knows? Weirdly, it's still $20 on Android. But hey, the mobile version runs pretty well now, despite those launch issues.
Okay, also saw news about that game from Build the Rocket Boy everywhere. Wait, no, that's not it. Mindsci. No, Cyberpunk. Action Mind Build the Rocket Boy is not the name. The game they released. Getting a big discount really fast.
You're probably thinking of Everywhere. Or maybe it's component Mind's Eye.
Yeah, if a new game gets a big price cut that quickly, it's usually not a great sign. It got some pretty harsh reviews at launch. Technical problems, the plot was maybe a bit unclear, gameplay issues.
Right.
Some people liked parts of it, for sure, and they are patching it, trying to fix things. But yeah, those quick sales often mean it's struggling to find an audience after a rocky start. I actually tried it again recently. Sound completely cut out on the last mission.
Oh no, the last mission, that's the worst.
Tell me about it. Incredibly frustrating.
So with those patches, are they managing to turn things around? Or is it kind of too late once the first impression is bad? It's tough. Patches definitely help. They can improve the experience a lot. But recovering from a bad launch, first impressions matter so much. It's a real uphill battle to win back players and change that initial perception, especially when there are so many other games competing for attention. They're trying, but we'll see.
Okay, shifting to something more positive on the content front. The game's voice studio, working on 28 projects. That's huge.
Yeah, their output is pretty amazing. They do official localizations, but also tons of fan translations, bringing Russian voiceovers to games that never had them. Big stuff like GTA San Andreas, smaller passion projects like Clay Urupsky Expedition 33, all sorts. They're hinting at some unexpected releases soon, too. Great news for Russian-speaking gamers.
And that dedication really shines through with things like the Metal Gear Solid 1 Russian voiceover project.
Absolutely. That was the Freedom Hell voice game. It took them 2 years.
2 years. Wow.
Yeah. A real labor of love. It's free, works on the original PS1 version. You can use it with emulators like DuckStation. They're hitting some technical snags, trying to get it working with the new Master Collection, but just the effort involved is incredible.
Okay, quick hardware check. We saw leaked prices for the Asus ROG Ally X, the new version of their handheld.
Right, the competitor aiming for that portable Xbox experience. Leaks suggest maybe €599 for the base model, $899 for the top one.
What's under the hood there?
They're using custom AMD Ryzen chips, the Z2A and Z2 Extreme. Powerful stuff for handhelds. Interestingly, no OLED screen on these. Asus seems to be focusing on VR or variable refresh rate and maybe better power efficiency to keep the cost down a bit.
Makes sense. Any idea when they might actually launch?
Rumors point to maybe this fall. It'll be interesting to see how it stacks up against the Steam Deck OLED and others.
And for the physical media collectors out there, Skyrim Remaster and the Life is Strange collection are getting PS5 physical releases.
Yep. Skyrim gets announced August 1st, hits shelves October 17th, and the Life is Strange collection for PS5 arrives October 2nd. That one's pretty complete, has all the games, bonuses, everything. Good package for fans.
Nice. And one last bit of community news. Frostpunk 2 is running a modding contest.
Yeah, pretty cool initiative, $10,000 prize pool. They're looking for original scenarios, visual mods. Great way to get the community involved right away and keep the game fresh.
Okay, before we wrap things up, we absolutely have to talk about this one game. It definitely caught my eye. How do I get past it? What on earth is that?
Haha, yeah. It's a sewage disposal simulator.
What now?
Seriously. You play alongside this character, Petrovich, and his truck, the 130's Lat.
Yeah.
And you pump waste. But it's set in this weirdly described spiritual and native version of Paris. Definitely not the real Paris.
Okay.
It even has its own in-game radio station, Hamnavaz FM, playing, presumably, songs about septic tanks.
It sounds amazing and slightly horrifying.
Right. And the tagline is just perfect. Quote, "It's not the work that makes a person beautiful, but the pressure in the hoses and the precise sight." It sounds like it balances the absurdity with actual gameplay, like dealing with rival waste disposal companies. It's bizarrely compelling.
So, wow, what a range we covered today. From massive AAA strategy shifts and sequel hints to incredibly dedicated fan projects and sewage simulators, the whole point was to give you those key takeaways, the surprising details without you having to wade through everything. Hope we did that.
And if you sort of zoom out, look at the big picture.
Yeah.
It really highlights how dynamic the games industry is right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got huge companies pushing tech. You've got indie studios doing wonderfully weird stuff like, how do I get past it? And then you have the fans. The communities aren't just playing anymore. They're modding, translating, creating, actively shaping the landscape. The lines are definitely blurring.
That's a great point. It leads to this vibrant, diverse, and yeah, sometimes very strange future for games. So it makes you think, right? As games get more complex, more connected, how much of their future is really being written by the developers and how much by the communities around them? What part do you as a player, a fan, maybe even a modder, play in that whole evolving story? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.